Hi, my name's Andy Parker, owner and head brewer at Elusive Brewing and author of CAMRA's Essential Homebrewing. I'm down at the Malt Miller in Swindon today to walk you through your first ever brew, from grain to glass. In this video, we're going to talk about packaging. Now you've produced the lovely beer, you need to get it into a package, be that a bottle, a keg, a bag-in-box or a mini cask, in order to be able to enjoy it at its best. Now in this video, we're going to talk about packaging our beer. The first thing before you package your beer, and this is really important, is to make sure that your gravity is stable. That is, the yeast has finished the fermentation. So at the end of fermentation, there will be some residual CO2 from that fermentation process, but it's not enough to have that nice fizz in your glass when you drink the beer. So the first thing we need to decide is how we're going to bring that carbonation level up to the desired level for drinking. Now, how we're going to carbonate depends on which type of package we're going into. Most homebrewers start with bottling. Now, for bottling, you can either use carbonation drops, that are little drops of sugar that you add into the bottle and then you fill it with beer, or you can batch prime. That is, you add the right amount of sugar for your entire batch into the fermenter or a bottling bucket, and that then carbonates in the bottle once you've filled them. So if you're batch priming, you can use an online calculator. There's one on the Malt Miller website to work out how much sugar to add. That's going to need a couple of inputs. The first is the volume of liquid you've got in your fermenter, and the second is the temperature, because the temperature kind of governs the residual level of CO2 that's left post-fermentation. Now when you go onto the calculator, you'll plug those values in and it will give you a value or grams of sugar that you need to add to the beer in order to batch prime it. Now if you're using glass bottles, they really should be brown because it keeps the light out of the beer, which can introduce off flavours. As well as glass bottles, you've got the option of using plastic bottles. These have got screw top lids rather than the caps. So before we start bottling, we need to make sure our bottles are cleaned and sanitized. So here's a bottle. Now if you're reusing a bottle that previously had beer in it, you want to make sure it's really clean. So have a look in there. You want to optionally get your bottling brush, give it a nice clean out, get any residual yeast or beer from inside the bottle so that's nice and clean visually. Then what we're going to do is we're going to sanitize it. Now this is a bottle rinser, so dunk the neck in the star san here. Then we're going to give that a couple of pushes down. You can see that the star san squirts all the way to the top of the bottle. Don't worry about the foam, that's fine. Then we're going to hang it on our bottling tree until we're ready to fill it. So now we've cleaned and sanitized all of our bottles ready for filling. Let's show you how to fill them. So now, whether you're using carbonation drops or you've batch primed your beer, you're ready to go. So what we're going to do is, in this case, use this bottling wand. Now you can see this is a very simple device. So we've got a tap here, it pushes into the bottom of the tap, and then you've got a little valve at the bottom that we're going to activate using the bottle. So first thing is we turn that on. Then we take our bottle. Now you're going to get a little bit of spillage. You can see we've got a little bucket under here. Push that down. Now you can watch as that slowly fills the bottle. There we go, as it gets near the top. You just want to get that to the top there. Take that out. And then we're going to place that onto a flat surface so we can add the cap. So to cap, we're going to use this little hand capper. And we've got our bottle caps ready to go in our sanitizer. So what you want to do is grab your cap. Don't touch the underside of the cap. We're going to place it on top of the bottle. Again, don't worry about the foam. And then what we're going to do is take your capper and place that on the bottle, then pull those arms down, and as you push down, you feel that click. Pull the arms up again, and there's our capped bottle. Now, as you saw, we've primed this bottle with more sugar. That means the yeast can get to work in conditioning this bottle and bringing the carbonation up to the level we want. Now, in order for that re-fermentation in the bottle to happen, you're going to need to keep this at room temperature for a couple of weeks. So another method you can use for packaging your beer is the bag-in-box. So you can see one here. Now the bag-in-box system is pretty easy. All you need to do is prime your beer, but to a much lower level than you would for bottling. And then you're going to fill the bag, place the tap in the end, and again wait for it to re-ferment in the bag. Let's quickly show you that. We've got our bag here. Let's put the tap aside for now. Now we've got our transfer hose. It's always a good idea to quickly sanitize this, and again you can use your bottle rinser, give that a squirt, get a bit of star sand through your hose. There we go. Now that very easily pushes on to our tap, like so. Then we get our hose, go into our bag, push that all the way to the bottom. Then we place our bag into our box, open our tap, and there goes our beer into the bag. So when your bag's full, we're going to close our tap, like so, remove the hose from the bag, then we take our tap and we click that into the bag. That goes all the way in. Now what we do is we close that box up, and then we're going to put that somewhere at room temperature for, again, a week or two, and let that re-fermentation in the bag happen to give us a bit of carbonation to the beer. Now another option that's popular with home brewers is to go into keg. And down here we have a Cornelius keg. Now this is slightly more involved, but there's lots of great online resources, including on the Malt Miller's YouTube channel. We're going to quickly show you how to fill your keg from the fermenter in a keg condition scenario. So again, we're going to take our transfer hose here. Sanitation is really important at the packaging stage, so let's give that a nice squirt through with some star sand. There we go. So our tap goes on, like so. Now this keg is cleaned and sanitized, ready to fill. So we get our hose all the way to the bottom of the keg there, and then we open our tap and we transfer our beer in. Now again, when our keg's full, we're going to close our tap, remove our hose, and then we take our keg lid, and then we probably, always a good idea to give that a bit of a squirt with star sand. It's going to come into contact with our beer. Then in goes our lid. They go in at an angle like this. Then you rotate it, make sure that's flush, and then you snap that down. Now, as this re-ferments in the keg, it's going to generate CO2. We need to make sure that CO2 stays in our keg. So what we need to do is seal the keg. And we do that by connecting this CO2 bottle onto the gas line. There we go. And then we're going to turn our gas on. And then we leave that running until the flow of CO2 stops, and that's popped the lid up into the top of the keg and sealed the keg. Disconnect our post. And again, we now leave that at room temperature for a couple of weeks for that re-fermentation to happen in keg before we dispense the beer. So in terms of dispensing our keg conditioned beer, you'll see that the Cornelius keg has got an in and an out post. So the gas goes in on the in post and the beer comes out on the out post. So we would connect our gas to the in post and our beer tap to the outpost. So we've bottle conditioned this beer and we've waited a couple of weeks for it to naturally carbonate in the bottle. Let's crack it open. Now, if you've done this successfully, when you lift the cap, you get a nice hiss like that. Look at that. And we've got some yeast sediment in the bottom there. So what we're going to do is just pour nice and carefully and leave that sediment in the bottle. Now, if you'd like to learn any more about packaging, you can read my book or go to the Malt Miller website to find some more material. In the meantime, cheers.